I was waiting.
Recording in progress.
We're good? Good evening. Call to order the Tuesday, August 6th meeting of the Franklin Common Council at 6:30 PM. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Nelson,
Here.
Alderman Pecorelli,
Here.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Here.
Alderman Hassan,
Here.
Alderwoman Day.
Here.
Alderman Barber.
Here.
Alderman Craig.
Here. Excellent. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Citizen comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record. 3 minutes or less. Going once, going twice, seeing nobody, citizen comment period is now closed. Next is item B2, a proclamation in recognition of Mr. Jack Takarian. If you step over here, I will read this. Or we can. Beautiful. A proclamation in respect and gratitude to Jack H. Takarian for his years of public service as a member of the City of Franklin Board of Water Commissioners and his service through the decades to protect and promote the public health, safety, and welfare in the Milwaukee metropolitan area. Whereas Jack H. Takarian was appointed to serve as a member of the City of Franklin Board of Water Commissioners by the City of Franklin Common Council on December 1st, 2015, and has substantially served all with his work efforts, research, knowledge, and experience. And whereas due to scheduling conflicts with his current work duties, Jack recently had to tender his resignation as a member of the Board of Water Commission. And whereas Jack has been a Franklin resident for almost 3 decades, and during such times, including time prior to thereto, his work history for the people includes working for Milwaukee County, starting in 1981 as an assistant aquatic director, and ultimately working as the director of the Milwaukee County Department of Transportation and Public Works, and then in 2012, accepting employment with the YMCA of Metropolitan Milwaukee, and becoming its chief executive officer, and then in 2017, accepting employment with SBM of Wisconsin LLC, which is engaged in obtaining, maintaining, and leasing multi-tenant commercial real estate in southeastern Wisconsin to improve the economy, quality of life, and is now its vice president of operations. And whereas all of Jack's works, efforts are by the people, for the people, and while Jack's work efforts are far from done, the time is now for us to express our gratitude for his years of ongoing service to the people. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, John R. Nelson, Mayor of the City of Franklin, Wisconsin, on behalf of all the citizens of Franklin, hereby express our gratitude for the years of public service and benefits therefrom to our public health, safety, and welfare received from and upon the work of Jack H. Takarian, and our wish to him to be proud of what he has accomplished, and our hope and trust that he will continue so moving forward, which we know he will. Presented to Jack Takarian this 6th day of August, 2024. Thank you very much, sir. Executive cover. Moving right along to item C, approval of the minutes, regular common council meeting minutes of July 16th, 2024.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have no hearings. Going on to organizational business under E. This will be roll call votes. Number 1, Joe Mercado, 10162 South 34th Street, Alderman District 4. Civic Celebrations 3-year unexpired term expiring June 30th, 2027. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a seconded by Alderman Craig. Roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Item number 2, Mira Kresovic, 8810 South 51st Street, Alderman District 4, Finance Committee, 1-year unexpired term expiring 4/30 of 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a seconded by Alderwoman Eichman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. There are no letters and petitions under F as in Frank. Now moving into G1. G1. Request council approval for the fire department to participate in the Franklin High School Community Internship Agreement to host volunteer student fire cadets during the 2024-2025 school year.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion by anybody? Wonderful program, Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, I also think it's a wonderful, absolutely wonderful program to get high school students involved, to get more very interested in joining the fire department and so forth. And I want to say I'm surprised to see you each here tonight. At last I looked, 21 calls so far today, approximately. It's been a busy day. Yeah, busy day for the department, so, and it's early yet, so thank you, but excellent.
Very good. We've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Item G2, a resolution to vacate a service road from South 60th Street to South 58th Street, located on the south side of West Ryan Road between South 60th Street and South 58th Street, part of the northwest 1/4 of Section 26, Township 5, Range 21, east in the city of Franklin, Walker County, Wisconsin.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item G3, authorize the professional services agreement between the City of Franklin and Foresight Cybersecurity, Inc. to provide external and internal penetration testing and reporting services funded by account numbers 01-0144-5299 and 01-0144-5214. Director Metelsky, good evening and welcome.
Hello. Oh. Are we on here? All right, good.
Yes.
This is brought back to the council. We originally were looking at doing penetration testing with Konica Minolta, all covered. Unfortunately, we could not come to amenable contract agreements with them where they wanted us to turn around and pretty much go along the lines with their contract. We've moved back over to our penetration testing provider who actually did our penetration testing back in 2022 for it. They did a really, really good job for it. And there's a few minor technical corrections that we'll have to make on the insurance certificate. And I think one or two actually in the contract, most of them actually minor for it. But we will be basically using the same penetration testing provider that we did 2 years ago.
Move to authorize a professional service agreement.
Second.
As stated on the action sheet, sir?
Yes.
As stated on the action sheet,
Correct.
ma'am? Okay. We've got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, can I ask just one
Oh,
question?
Mr. Peccarelli, you've got the floor.
Sure. So I know there's a section in here on them possibly using third-party resources to do some of the work. I think it's in section 1B. Is that, do we have enough protection? Do you feel like we have enough protection in here if they use that they'll meet whatever the requirements are?
The third party, they are using a combination of both manual and automated detection facilities for it. So the third party is actually going to be the appliance that we're actually going to be installing in, that will be doing continual protection, continuous penetration testing throughout the entire system for it. So this is a system that they've used before, where a lot of it used to be installed on a VM that we had before. So that's where the third party element actually comes into.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item G4, well done. G4, ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance text in 15-9.0401, administrative fees, 15-9.0401A as an addendum. Fee schedule to increase the zoning and land division application fees and to provide for requiring a developer's deposit for new plan development district and preliminary plat applications. Good evening and welcome, Regulo and Marion.
Good evening. Thank you.
Does Marion need a microphone? She can use Danielle's.
Thank you.
No, we wanted you to bring it.
This is the fee schedule that the Department of City Development used to charge applicants for processing applications like site plan, rezonings, land divisions. So staff is proposing 5 major changes. First is adjusting for inflation. The fee schedule hasn't been updated in 20 years. Second change is increase filing fees for certain applications over the inflation rate. This is like, for example, for rezonings or for comprehensive master plan amendments. This is a takeaway of the comparison with other communities, and frankly has kind of the lowest fees for this type of applications. The third change is adding a developer's deposit for 2 of the applications, the PDDs and the preliminary plats that kind of are intensive in the use of staff hours. So this will allow to charge back for additional time that is spent in the review of these applications. A new filing fee for easements. We are currently no charging for easements, and this is another takeaway of the comparison. Other communities charge for easements, and adding 2 tiers for floodplain land use permits. We currently don't have a specific fee for floodplain land use permits, and this will allow to, when it's a commercial project, charge a higher fee compared to a residential one parcel. As you can see in the resolution is the proposed fee schedule with the proposed fees, and in the staff report, there is a more detailed table that has what is the proposed change for each type of application. Some applications are only adjusted for inflations, other applications are increased over the inflation rate, as I mentioned before. And then also in the staff report is a table comparing our current fees with the proposed fees and the 5 different cities that we compare the filing fees. And there are some notes on the takeaways that I also mentioned early. And this fee schedule was presented about over a year ago to the Common Council, and the Common Council recommended to do that comparison with other communities, and that's what we have done. We have some takeaways and make some adjustment, and also present this fee schedule to the Plan Commission 2 times, get their input, and present a revised version, and we held a public hearing with the Plan Commission. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Questions? Alderwoman Day.
I just have one question regarding the developer deposit. Will that be spelled out on the website or whatnot so that people understand what the initial deposit is, what the 2 specific types of plans that entails, as well as what happens if they go over the $3,000, just so it's spelled out, very clearly for those particular applications?
Right. The fee schedule has a note at the bottom saying that will only apply for PDDs and preliminary plats application. Says that the minimum amount is for the developer's deposit is $3,000, and also in the report it spell out the process for the developer's deposit. So the applicants pay, then we do the review. If there's a remaining balance, then we will refund that, and if the balance is depleted, they will need to pay another $3,000.
Just so that it's clearly, spelled
yes.
out for individuals in various places, so that it isn't confusing what that fee is for and how it is used. That was my only comment.
Anyone else? There's a motion.
Motion to amend the UDO?
Second.
As stated?
Yes.
As stated. We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Well done. It was easy to follow. Excellent.
Thank you.
G5, standards, findings, and decision of the City of Franklin Common Council upon the application of John Spitz, Fox Glen Corporate Center LLC applicant for a special exception to certain natural resource provisions of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. Good evening, Mary Nix.
Thank you, Mayor. So this request for a natural resource special exception is stemming from impacts to wetland buffer and setback in the southeast corner of the city. So the general address of the site is 11027 South 27th Street and the lots to the south of that. And the applicant, having impacted the site, is here to request to be able to restore it. So I'm going to briefly canvass the history of this. This item was heard at Environmental Commission, and the recommendation is attached for you. There was a public hearing at Plan Commission on July 18th. There was some public comment about that, so the neighbors have been impacted by this site and have felt that some of the work being done on site up to this point was merited complaints, which is actually how we arrived at the situation where we became aware of impacts to the site. So again, this is for impacts to wetland buffer and wetland setback, and also for impacts to the floodplain. So broadly speaking, the site was farmed for a number of years, and then in 1999, a stormwater detention pond and golf facility were constructed, and then subsequently demolished in 2018 and 2019. The site had temporary uses for construction related to the revision to the Elm Road on-ramp for I-94, and then there were complaints related to that and also to the use of the site after the expiration of the temporary use. In 2023, we began an enforcement process that included wetland violations. And in 2024, a temporary use, which was effectively a stay of enforcement on the current local natural resource ordinances, was approved by Plan Commission. So the applicant, basically what happened was the site was built out as a golf facility, and during our, I'm going to have to back up, sorry. I don't usually do this without a presentation. So
Let's explain.
during the review of the application, it was also discovered that there were impacts within the regulatory floodplain, and that those impacts did not appear to have the correct set of permits as required. And so in addition to the wetland impacts, this natural resource special exception also encompasses those floodplain impacts. So the applicant made their initial request for after the fact approval of impacts to 31,629 square feet of wetland buffer and setback on the lots with the address 11027 South 27th Street, and also for 19,784 square feet of additional impacts on the lots without an address. So during the review, it was also determined that grading had resulted in grading within the regulatory floodplain. It has since been determined by me through research in the department that a site plan approval was issued for the site that did encompass those approvals, but the necessary letter of map change or amendment that would have been required at that time was not completed. FEMA and DNR have been consulted on this, and our recommended resolution is that the applicant restore the grade, just as they also intend to restore the wetland impacts. So there are recommended conditions of approval related to that in the standards, findings, and decision. And we are looking forward to getting that work done. There was also discussion at Environmental Commission about the restoration proposal. So wetland buffer and setback have required plantings. Environmental Commission made specific recommendations about the types of seeds, and also that this maintenance be for not less than 3 years. They also recommended fencing to protect the wetland buffer and setback areas during that restoration work, and that temporary orange construction fencing be removed. One additional recommendation that staff is making is that there be protection set up for the site during after the completion of that restoration work, to protect the work that was done in the wetland setback buffer and the wetland itself. The applicant has some questions and comments about that. We have required things like boulders or signage. It is also possible that the site could be protected by putting up a chain or other type of fencing around the entirety of the site rather than putting a fence around the wetland, which could be prohibitive. So we do think that is an appropriate measure. Also, because there has been dumping on the site, it would be a good idea to put up some kind of barrier to prevent future encroachments on the site until development is complete. So I also want to note, I've had some discussions with the future developers of this site that we were hoping will put up a structure there, and they're aware of some of the impacts to the site. Any application that comes in future will require a future natural resource special exception once they know what their design will look like. So this does not encompass future development. It is only for restoration of the existing impacts to natural resources. A subsequent development will have to meet the requirements of the ordinance at that time once they know where they plan to put things. We anticipate that there may be wetland impacts, but won't know that until we see a final drawing. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about that. The engineering team is here from that, the applicant, and we are recommending approval of the standards, findings, and decision. So
Before we go into this question part of it, applicant, they're good with your findings to move forward with this? Or is this? Oh, I thought it was an easy question. I'm sorry. If I didn't. Sure, please come join in the center chair.
my understanding is that they are not best pleased with the fencing, but.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we start, you state your name and business address for the record, please.
Matt Carey, Pinnacle Engineering Group, the civil engineer helping out with the project. We are at 20250 Watertown Road, Brookfield.
Thank you, and good evening and welcome.
Thank
So
you.
your comments to this before we get into the questions from here?
Yeah, I think a lot of this was discussed at last month's Plan Commission meeting. And I think it aligns with that, from what I recall in the minutes. I think just to clarify some of the floodplain discussion, I think some of that was intended to be sort of separate, that the grading and wetland buffer restoration work could be completed and that the floodplain could be a separate item. I didn't know if that was.
Sorry if that was not made clear. I'm including the floodplain impacts in this NRSE so that you do not have to obtain another one for them. So I tried to word the recommended conditions of approval in such a way that we can get you to a point where you can meet our local ordinance. What FEMA is recommending is that you restore the grade and submit a new grading plan with that information stamped by an engineer, and that work be completed. And once that's complete and we've gone through that process, then that will resolve the floodplain issue. But the request is being included in the NRSE because otherwise you would have to go back through and do another one to do any work in the floodplain.
Okay, and has this been further discussion that's occurred since? Okay. Because again, I know the biggest thing with FEMA is the timing. That will take a year to get approved with FEMA.
But
So,
should not be necessary if you are able to restore the grade.
okay, so there is the option to restore the grade. I think that was discussed at a prior meeting.
Correct.
Restore the grade.
The question, can you do that? And they
Okay.
said yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't
Right, we
privy
have
to any of these discussions.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's an option, that the grades can be restored, and then a LOMR after the fact can be submitted to FEMA. Again, like that can help certainly, but the LOMR process will still take a year plus. So I guess, are you stating now that we need to revise, add new grading plans along with this that also include the floodplain grading, or that can be sort of separate from what's already been discussed and already been submitted to city staff?
So the approval that's before the Plan Commission, or I'm sorry, the Common Council this evening has the same condition that was in the standards, findings, and decision from the previous.
Yeah, I read that, and it looked like it was the same still. I just, again, wasn't aware of any further developments with that. So.
No, and so, sorry, I've been working this out in the back end and I didn't have a chance to check in with Mr. Carey. But basically the goal here is to obtain the NRSE for floodplain impacts so that you have met that requirement of the local ordinances in order to do it. And then we will work out what permitting process is required. I don't believe it will require a letter of map change. It will require a new grading plan through the city, which would be approved by the engineering department and reviewed by me for those floodplain impacts. And then we would work with DNR to verify that the grade has been restored to the firm. And then we should be good.
Okay. This is all new to, I think, me and my team for tonight. So
Well, what's in front of us, we would either like to act or table. So if Ms. X, if you've explained it to the gentleman and if you're good with it as it sits, then we'd like to move forward with the council's approval, or if it needs to be tabled for more clarification, but it's,
It's up to you.
yeah, it's just something like this would be preferred to know in advance to discuss with our team, and that, unfortunately that didn't happen. So we're just kind of being put on the spot here.
that's what we do on purpose.
Oh,
Sorry.
It's kind of our thing in Franklin.
Any thoughts on this? Move forward or what? Yeah.
Well,
right.
we're not gonna, so we're not gonna go back and forth, so I think at this point, we'll take a motion to table till next meeting, because this, we're not gonna get anywhere, and now you're bringing the Greeks in, and there's the Olympics going on, and it's, I'm not blaming you, I'm just, we're gonna talk for a second here. Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question. Is there a concern about putting fencing around this area?
No, at Plan Commission, we talked about just putting up signs. I think that was discussed and confirmed with Glenn Morrow and other members of the Plan Commission for a permanent, notification of, hey, this is the wetland buffer. Because, we don't have anything to show the site, but it's, it's a large site with multiple vertices, and it's going to be a lot of fencing.
Yes.
For a permanent use, which to me, I think practical sense would prevail and say, I think signs would be fine. It's not a mowed grass. There's not going to be people out there constantly maintaining any landscaping or anything like that. So I think that was also discussed, and that should be in the minutes from last month's Plan Commission meeting. So
Thank you.
Alderman Barber.
If this were to be tabled, how soon could it come back? Is that for you? And I guess.
we have to talk to the team. Again, I try to maintain open lines of communication on our end. It's kind of unfortunate. So,
Effectively, I think it's the council's decision, but effectively the wording in the standards, findings, and decision allows for the impacts to floodplain. So if this condition, the proposal before everyone is not acceptable to the applicant, then we would have to work out some other way to resolve it. So, and it would probably require an additional NRSE. So I really apologize. I'm trying to coordinate communications with other jurisdictions in the back end and did not have a chance to check in with you about it. So that's not ideal.
understood. Yeah.
But I am attempting to put forward something that the Common Council can adopt that will allow staff to work with the applicant to produce the necessary result, which is that the floodplain either be resolved in terms of restoring it to the original grade, or that it be resolved by whatever the other processes might be, whether it's compensatory storage, et cetera. So from the text that has been presented to you, nothing would effectively change. However, if the applicant's not comfortable with it, I certainly respect that and am happy to have another sit down and talk it through. So
Did the applicant see the proposed motion?
yes, it's the same as was presented to.
Yeah, I
Plan-
found it on the website and looked it up. So I, obviously could see if anything changed in there, and it was the exact same as last month at Plan Commission.
Yep.
So
All right, well, sir, do you want to come up forward and comment on this? Well, don't start talking yet. So come on up here, and if we can give this gentleman a chair, and then you can state.
I guess what I'm.
But what I'm going to ask you first is state your name and business address. Thank you, Regulo. In one of those microphones. Name and business address in the microphone, please, and then you can welcome.
My name is Jeff Knauf, Knauf. My business address would be 3167 Littlefield Court in Pewaukee, 53072.
Thank you, and good evening. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, we will strongly yield to what Matt has to say about this. And if he felt that we could move forward tonight, I would ask Matt if he feels comfortable with that. Otherwise, would we be?
What I'm doing means put the
Forget-
microphone here.
My apologies. If Matt could, if Matt feels strongly that we can move forward with this, and there's not a lot of extra cost to us, or there will be. There's a lot of extra grading.
Okay.
I'm going to make the motion to table this then.
Yep.
Okay.
We can, and that's fine. I just want to state one more thing, and this came up during Plan Commission last month as well. Jeff and his partner did not own the site in 1999 when this grading was done, and I don't think there's not enough paper trail, from what I can understand, to determine if all the appropriate permits were pursued. But there's plans that do show that area being graded and it being filled. But Jeff and John did not own the site at that time. They owned it in 2004. So they're unfortunately having to pay for this issue, which somehow happened, whether it's the applicant or whether it was the city. It's a documentation thing, and now retroactively 25 years later, this is coming up. So anyway, I just want to state that one more time.
So we got an alderwoman that's saying to table it. Do you believe that we could bring this back August 20th, or do you think it needs to go further?
I think we can discuss. I think we'd like to have some more discussion. It's
Yeah.
a lot of grading. And
I'll tell you what, how about the motion to table, just to table it? And then Marion can bring it back when you wish to bring it back. How about that? So we got
Second.
What's that?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Counselor, it's on your mind.
Motion should state, subject to when it comes back, it's tabling, otherwise it's tabled forever. So it's tabled until staff brings it back.
So then I will redirect my motion to table until staff brings it back in front of the Common Council.
First and second, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Apologize for inconvenience.
Sorry.
G6, D6, a resolution to authorize We Energies to provide electric service for lighting cabinets on South Lovers Lane Project, West Venture Drive, and West Cortez Circle.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G7, an ordinance to amend 245-5 parking, stopping, and standing regulated of the municipal code to create an additional provision that prohibits parking which obstructs, blocks, or impedes traffic. Mr. City Attorney, can you turn on your thing there?
This was
Perfect. Kelly.
reviewed,
Good job.
requested by the police department, and the recommendation followed review with Assistant City Attorney Borda, and the provision being added to the municipal code is the same as was or as exists in the Wisconsin statutes. And I understand the subject matter arose due to some circumstances when there was parking on public streets that caused other cars going in one direction to wait because there was no room to go through the lane while cars were going in the other direction. So that's the brief summary.
Right, and one of the things that, just to clarify, in case there's questions about this, let's say, for example, somebody wishes to have a family party, family gathering, and there's a captain here, Captain Hintz is here, perhaps you can also clarify or at least agree with me that if somebody wishes to have a special exception like permission to park, they can call into the police department and say, hey, look, this is my address. I live at, and I'll use mine for example, 7787 South North Cape Road. I'm having a gathering and I'd like, permission to park, and then that permission could be granted through the police department. Captain Hintz is agreeing with nods. So that's Alderman Eichman.
I have a lot of questions on that, Mayor, and perhaps I'm not comprehending it as it's being presented, but for more clarification, I feel it needs to be narrowed down more than being so broad. I mean, is this on every single street? And Alderwoman Day is nodding her head in agreement. Is this on every single street in the city of Franklin?
Yeah,
Or is
city
it-
ordinance is a city ordinance,
Right,
yes.
but, so anyone that has an event that needs to call in for
They
special
don't need
parking?
to. And Captain, would you please come forward here and then
Or-
I can address her stuff and also, and try to clarify. So this ordinance would be a change to our current city parking ordinance, which all the other communities, many that are surrounding have this same ordinance where you cannot obstruct the traffic lane. And however, like what I said 2 minutes ago was you can, if the need arises to call in, you don't have to call in. The police aren't actively going down and hunting these things out, but it is an ordinance change. Alderman Eichman.
Thank you. So kind of more of a common sense thing, such as there's some areas in D6 around St. Martin's area where it's a little bit more narrow. So being mindful if someone is having a celebration and the cars are parked on the road and traffic can't go both ways, to be mindful of that, or what am I missing here? Or I'll yield to Alderwoman Day. She's got some
Alderwoman Day.
questions.
I guess my only question was, is this ordinance change only in those instances where the parking truly obstructs or impedes traffic? This isn't like street parking everywhere. This is if you get a complaint and you come upon it and you see that, yes, truly like a whole lane is blocked and there can't be like 2 lanes of traffic, is my understanding of reading this, but I want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
As you describe it,
Don, just bring it closer.
that's the intent. The intent isn't to restrict more parking or to prohibit people from parking on public roadways. It's just in instances where traffic is tight or they're truly obstructing, blocking it where the vehicle needs to be removed.
So it's more a helpful tool for you if you get a call complaining about parking, that you can look this up and be like, yes, there is truly a violation here because this verbiage, the sentence was not there before. So this just helps with your follow-up of those calls.
Yeah, with anything, obviously, there's discretion, what should be done and what makes sense. And this did stem from a complaint, as Attorney Wazalowski said, and this language is consistent with surrounding municipalities with their parking ordinances, and it would add an element of enforceability with parking complaints, more than likely.
Okay, I understand the intent. I just want to make sure it was kind of, complaint-based and it wasn't, restricting street parking in general. So thank you.
Mr. Barber.
Just for my, if you've got a narrow street, you've got cars parked on both sides of it for, say, a party, which happens quite a bit. But there is a traffic lane that goes through. That's not an obstruction. And would that be, if they were called about parking on both sides, would that be an issue for the police department to issue a citation? Or is that something that if traffic can flow, but it maybe is restricted to one car at a time, how would that play out?
Good question. Obviously, that some streets in Franklin are quite narrow, and it would apply to more or multiple areas in the city. And the police department has certainly worked with the hosts of parties in the past. If there is truly an obstruction, that our objective is getting emergency vehicles down roadways and making sure the public can move freely about the city. And we've certainly made accommodations for special circumstances, or in the event you describe, it's not out of the question for us to knock on the door and say, hey, can you move some cars so we can get some vehicles down?
Alderman Picarelli.
So just extending that a little bit. So if someone lived by like, let's say a park or something and people are parking, and let's say my vehicle was sitting out in front of my house and it was parked there. And then somebody later on came and parked directly across from me. And so now we have a situation where it's
Which
narrow.
car is violating it?
Yes.
Which car obstructed it?
Was going to be my exact question.
Right. I think that would be a case-by-case basis, and we'd have to make a judgment call. And that I don't know if a citation would necessarily be the go-to route. That there's obviously other resources we could do to find out the owner of the vehicle and try and get a hold of them to make a resolution without having to cite them.
Okay.
There is a motion presented in front of us. Is there a motion on this? Do we have a first and a second on this?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we got a first. Is there a second on this?
1 second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, thank you. And Sergeant, did you fix the beeping, or is it, are we gonna borrow time?
Probably for the next 5 minutes.
Okay. If you gotta take off, that's fine, but we'll just wait for, yeah, please again, if you could. Thank you. G8, resolution authorizing the installation of a fence within the 20-foot private planting stream plat restriction upon Lot 12 in Block 1 of Tuckaway Green subdivision, 7524 South 77th Street. Cindy Dawes applicant. Is there a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a first and a second by Alderman Hassan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G9, D5. A resolution authorized We Energies to provide electric service for signal cabinet on South 51st Street and West Preserve Way.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Alderwoman Eichman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. So, Polish Heritage Alliance, Inc. versus City of Franklin, Milwaukee County Circuit Court Case Number 2023-CV-9073, Settlement and Process, Water Main Easement for the Polish Heritage Alliance, Inc. property. Mr. Wazlowski, you taking this?
What's attached as the draft, the action sheet of the easement has basically been approved with regard to city
Kelly?
city engineers, deletions thereon, et cetera. And so it's good on this end. The city engineer is out this week. Still recommend the motion because the redraft showed up, I believe, yesterday from the other side, accepting it. So motion as set forth on the Common Council action sheet is what's appropriate.
I'd like to make the motion to authorize.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G11, D6, postpone indefinitely water service to Hale Park Highlands area. There's a motion on here, a motion to postpone indefinitely based on the community survey results and resident feedback indicates the residents believe it is not the best use of city resources. Mr. Hold on. You have anything on this, Jesse, before we go to Mr. Craig? Okay, Mr. Craig, you got the floor?
Motion to postpone indefinitely water service to the Hale Park Highlands area.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Yes. An ordinance to amend 19-1 E. Edward, remove meeting attendance permitted of the municipal code to authorize the remote attendance of an alderperson at common council meetings upon temporary health circumstances pertaining to the alderperson not allowing for physical mobility to attend a meeting in person. There's a motion on here.
Make the motion to approve.
Second, the barber ordinance.
See, you can't say that, can you? Now we're gonna start over again. And,
I have a question.
Alderwoman Eichman, you've got the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Upon temporary health circumstances pertaining to the alderperson not allowing for physical mobility. So would that also incorporate, say, if someone we'll use COVID as an example. If someone's just simply ill that they can, but they are able to still remotely participate in the meeting, does that cover all of that? Or is it just somebody that physically cannot get here? Right.
I'm not a medical doctor. Thought is, when it's outside of the physical disabled realm, it could be other issues in terms of thought process, et cetera. And this was strictly for medical disability. It's a process or a policy question. And with regard to vacations, the general thought is it's always the best to have board commissions, committee, council members present in person. So it's a policy decision though.
Which,
Sue got the floor.
thank you, which I respect, but I'm wondering if we can change the language in here and or bring it back at another time to include that. Say, for example, I'm sitting here and if I have a really bad cold and I don't want to sit right next to anyone to pass that illness along, but yet I'm okay to sit at home with a cup of chicken noodle soup and some cough medicine and partake in the meeting, just not physically being here. I feel it should be open to those particular type of health circumstances aside of the just mobility thing. We're coming upon cold and flu season before we know it this fall and winter and so forth. And just for in times, there's been times this year where we've barely made quorum for council. So I'm just looking to cover those bases as well. With the ideal knowledge that I think we all are aware that being present is preferably most desired, but I'd rather personally call in remotely than get those around me sick and ill or pass something along. I'll yield.
Well, Mr. City Attorney, so, to go back to you and with this ordinance, I know that the goal is to have people sitting here in their chairs and only in those extreme cases that we recently experienced. I think that's the goal of this ordinance, because what the Alderwoman is bringing up are very subjective examples to where next thing you know, we've got nobody here and everybody's remote, and I think that's not the goal of this. The goal of this was to permit on a temporary basis people that have an issue, although it's plausible and it's reasonable, but it's up to the council what you want to do on this. I would support it as it stands. And Mr. Barber.
Having been the person that this has affected most recently, discretionary is, I don't think what we want to achieve here. I think it would be a medical reason or something that would be a limitation for that person to attend physically. And for me, if it's something that can be, it's a temporary thing as well, can be defined as temporary, maybe you don't add that word, but I would limit it to where there's a medical condition that's involved and eliminate anything that might be discretionary.
Mr. City Attorney?
Just with regard to Alderman Barber's thoughts, the proposed ordinance amended does refer to the condition as physician-directed temporary physical mobility inability. So it's physician-directed,
Okay.
which takes it out of the subjective realm.
I like it. Mike, have you sold the floor?
I yield, but I'd make the motion as it stands, if it hasn't been made already.
Hasn't been made yet. Alderwoman Day.
The only thing I think maybe to give it a tiny bit of a wider scope might be to remove the word physical mobility and have it read basically virtual attendance by an older person due to a current at the time health-related physician-directed temporary inability to physically attend a meeting condition. I mean, that takes away the mobility piece. So say it's cancer or something, like say it's something that's not mobility related, but it's a serious health condition.
Sure, and a doctor would put that on
Yeah, so
paper.
I'm thinking maybe just take away the mobility piece. I don't know.
Jesse, and then Alderman Hassan, then Alderwoman.
Why would the mobility not be an issue for that? Why would a doctor direct that you don't attend in person if it's not a mobility issue?
If you're getting chemo and you
Yeah.
have an immune system in the toilet.
I still think a doctor, but doctor.
Yeah, I mean, because you're limiting it to it being like a serious medical condition because it's a doctor directed
Correct.
something.
Correct.
It just takes the mobility it doesn't specify to be only mobility related.
I think it covers it with the doctor's note. Right? I mean, that would cover Alderwoman Day's point, is because a doctor would
The
be
thing
stating it.
is the intent of this meaning that it's like long-term more than just, like a meeting because you're under the weather and you don't want to get other people sick. You might just miss one meeting, but this seems to be, that is the intent of this for a longer term kind of absence type situation?
No, it says what it says. It's temporary physical mobility, inability.
I'm fine either way. I'm
We have
just offering
another-
Well, I think it makes sense, Alderwoman, and I like what she said, and I think it covers that, but as it sits here, not allowing for physical mobility, could just, I think how you added that other verbiage in there would be all encompassing with your doctor's excuse, your medical excuse, to make sure that it's covered properly, and I think that makes the most sense.
Could you restate that, please?
'Cause it was
Yeah, let me look.
genius.
Let's look at the motion. Okay.
There is an exact same factual circumstance with a board and commission member as what's stated in the redraft right now. And it does go to quorum issue.
Yes. So if Alderwoman Day, if you could restate as best you can.
Sure.
Just taking out mobility.
So, yeah, it's the
Physical.
physical mobility.
Physical inability.
Yeah, so it would be,
Not allowing, I mean,
Well, we're in the language in the
yeah, so
ordinance.
under
Okay.
E. So, I'm just reading this sentence that's double underlined. An older person due to a current, at the time, health-related, physician-directed, temporary inability to physically attend a meeting. Just take out the words physical mobility, is what I'm saying. It's still
Oh,
physician-directed, you're just taking out the two words physical mobility.
so on the current motion, just take out physical and mobility?
I thought about that, but then it didn't read right to me, but
Right.
yes, that's the intent of what I'm proposing.
Well, if you could restate a motion
Let's see.
and then spec-
Motion to adopt an ordinance to amend 19-1 sub E, remote meeting attendance permitted of the municipal code to authorize the remote attendance of an older person at common council meetings upon temporary health circumstances pertaining to the older person inability to physically attend a meeting. Physician directed, that's not there.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney, and then.
Why don't you
Alderwoman
just say, and to delete, quote, physical mobility, close quote, from the draft ordinance presented to the
Yeah.
common council?
Yeah.
You're good with that?
That would be my motion.
No, he didn't.
I mean,
He didn't make the motion. No. Rizab did not make the motion. No.
Okay.
So do we have a first and a second before we go into more discussion? Did we? Okay, I just want to make, well,
Before discussion.
okay, we have a first and a second. Excellent. Further discussion, Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you. I mean, I'll go along with it, but I just think Milwaukee County supervisors are able to call in when they cannot be present at a meeting for Milwaukee County with HIPAA and so forth. Personally, if I had an illness, I keep myself and my family, the illnesses and sicknesses very private. Everyone's different. So I wouldn't want everyone to know with a doctor notice, like I had to turn in at Franklin High School and I was out sick for a day, for everyone to know my business. But if that's how you want to hold it, that's fine. I think down the road, it could be reviewed again. Although I was not an alder during the time, I watched several meetings during COVID times, and obviously that was a different time frame. But meetings could be held remotely. I'm just looking to cover worst case scenarios if people get sick this winter. And now that I said it, no one will. If I didn't say it, everyone will get sick. So let's just hope for the best. But just wanted to throw that out there. I mean, we're older people and we have to turn in a doctor written note of the reason why we can't physically be here. I personally think a call to the mayor to discuss why we're not able to be present at a meeting should suffice versus bothering a busy physician to come up with a doctor's notice, like we're elementary students, but I'll yield.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. G13, in ordinance to create 10-26 remote meeting attendance permitted of the municipal code to authorize the remote attendance of a member of a board, commission, and/or committee meetings upon temporary health circumstances pertaining to the member not allowing for physical mobility to attend the meeting in person. Are we going to look at creating the exact same ordinance here, Mr. City Attorney, if you could?
Yes, it would again be, the motion as set forth on the council action sheet, and to add with the deletion of physical mobility from the draft ordinance as presented to the council.
Okay.
I would make that motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G14. Confirmation of the appointment of Mr. Regulo Martinez Montalva as planning manager for the city of Franklin. The common council may enter into closed session under Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85, sub 1, sub C, and F to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the common council has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, and to consider financial, social, or personal histories of specific persons, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories, and may re-enter open session at the same place after that to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
Motion to confirm Mr. Regulo appointment.
I would second that.
We have a first and a second discussion. Alderwoman Eichman.
Thank you. I'm very much in favor of it. I'm just questioning the acceptance letter that was signed and dated prior to this evening's meeting. Is that just based upon our confirmation in council?
I'm going to defer to Madam Director of Administration. Good answer. Anybody else?
It starts out to upon the first.
Could you,
Right, if confirmed. I just thought it would have been signed after tonight. That was just my only question, but I think it's wonderful. We're happy to have you on board. I should say I'm very happy to have you on board in this position.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Really excited to continue with the planning department.
well, we're still in the discussion phase.
Yeah. Oh.
So we have a first and a second. We're still continuing discussion. Alderwoman Eichman, you still have the floor.
I yield, thank you.
Anyone else on discussion at this point? Okay, I'd like to add a few things. Under discussion is Regulo has done a very good job, and he's proven his leadership in that area. That was, I believe, our biggest challenge coming in here. Biggest challenge, biggest amount of complaints. There was a lot of things, a lot of issues that, looking at it from the reasonable standpoint, made, that's what we want to look at, what's reasonable to get things done. And being as rigid as unfortunately some of these ordinances are, takes a team to find ways to get to the finish line for yes, to find ways to legally get to yes. And sometimes that you've got to be able to maneuver through a very cumbersome ordinance that's on our books. Regulo also is always a very positive person. I've received in the last, since I became mayor, a number of compliments to him from developers, from citizens that felt that, even though they didn't agree with our UDO and didn't agree with what he had to say, but he presented it very well. He presented it in a very respectful manner. And that's a big thing, because our jobs here are customer service. You know, that's what we're here to do, is we're here to serve the citizens, serve the community. And Regulo is an excellent representative of our community. And I know that when we're going into a situation with a developer that's can be difficult, or a project that's very difficult, Regulo does his homework. Regulo's very professional. He comes forth and brings, you know, his facts. He explains his facts. He does very well with that. And I'm very happy and proud, again, that we could bring somebody that's paid their dues, so to speak, from within. And we love to it's, again, this is just me speaking. I like to promote from within. So when somebody comes here, when we did it with the police department, we did it with the fire department, now we're doing it with planning, that we're giving people an opportunity that when they come here, they come work here, they start here, that there is an opportunity to get to the top of the chain. And I think Regulo's earned that position. He works very hard, very diligent. I throw him curveballs almost daily, and he takes them in stride, and he does a very good job. So that's my 2 cents in this, and I'm very, very, very happy that you are hopefully going to be in that position. We'll find out soon. Mr. Barber.
In addition to that, I'd like to also thank Regulo for serving the council well for all these years, for all the different committees and stuff that you have been participating in. I've appreciated your help and assistance on the committee that we're linked with. So you have served the council very well, and I think that it's time to recognize that.
Thank you.
So Alderman Eichmann?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, in backboning on what the mayor also said, working on projects with you, we've had some pretty heated items come up within my district in my tenure so far, and I have gotten compliments, very many compliments from my constituents, whether they agreed or didn't disagree. So kind of piggyback up what the mayor said, you're very well-rounded. You're very well-rounded for council, for the community, and I think it's going to be an excellent fit. I'll yield. Thank you.
Excellent. So we got a first and a second. Can we roll call, please?
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Burke.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye, congratulations.
Sorry?
I just say congratulations.
Oh, sorry. Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Party tomorrow.
On Regulo.
Going to work tomorrow.
Be early.
So now we're going to G15. G15. A motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 sub 1 sub E for market competition and bargaining reasons to deliberate and to consider terms relating to potential commercial, industrial, manufacturing developments and proposals, and the investing of public funds and governmental actions in relation thereto, and to affect such developments, including the terms and provisions of potential development agreements for, including but not limited to, the properties at 3303 West Oakwood Road, and to enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
Motion to go into closed.
Second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes. We are slowly going into closed session. Open session, there is no action taken for what was discussed. We are going to item G16. A motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 1985 sub 1 sub E for market competition and bargaining reasons to deliberate and consider terms relating to potential commercial, industrial, manufacturing developments and proposals, and the investing of public funds and governmental actions in relation to thereto, and to affect such developments, including the terms and provisions of potential development agreements for, including but not limited to, the properties at the southeast corner of South Oakwood Park Drive and West Ryan Road, and to enter into open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
Motion to go into closed.
We have a second. First Michelle, second Yusuf. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. We are going into closed session again.
All right, License Committee met earlier this evening. We had a full cohort at the meeting. So we'll start on the first page. There were 2 extraordinary event applications. Both were approved with Mulligan's Irish Pub. The caveat, they are having live music and a band as per our updated licensing applications. We need to have a decibel limit for the police department. So the decibel limit that was discussed by the license committee was 55 decibels at the property line to be congruent with other licenses that have been given out this year. As I said, the L-front was approved. Then moving on to the operators, all were approved on the first page with Jose Ambriz and Lindsay Brisky needing to correct their application. On the next page, the first 3 were approved. When we get to Amanda Fechtow, we would like to hold for appearance. We have some questions on the police report that was provided. The remaining items on that page were all approved.
What's so funny?
Then the third page, the first individual, Daniel Mackey, is approved but needs to correct the application. The remaining operators on that page were all approved. Page 4, the remaining operators, the first 4 there, were all approved. Then moving on to the Class B combination entertainment and amusement for Ricky's Harrisburg Inn LLC, doing business as Ricky's Double Barrel Inn. There was a note in the file that we noticed, an email from the clerk's office regarding the address on the application and the address for the property not matching. And we did not know if that had been resolved or not, or if there was additional.
I'll have to check with staff.
Okay, it says, let's see, it was an email from Friday, July 12th. They applied for an alcohol license for business at 11318 West St. Martin's Road. But shows that the property that is owned is 11314. So there's an address discrepancy, so. That was the only thing that we really had on that one, just to make sure that that was cleared up. Otherwise, we had no issues approving it. Then it is approved, yep. Yep, with the correction of whatever the address is. And then the VFW Post and Knights of Columbus were both approved. And then when we got to Franklin Public Library Foundation, under the public grant, there were a couple of questions as far as the description of the event having alcohol present. The questions were if alcohol is an allowed expense with the public grant, as well as if alcohol is allowed in a government building. We do not have the answers to those questions. Those were our questions. We had no problem.
I'd have to look into the government building.
Right, so we had recommended, if we didn't have answers to that, we had recommended holding that for the next license committee meeting so we could find out the answers to those questions. The event isn't until October, so we do have a bit of time.
Yeah, and they weren't 100% sure that they were going to do that.
Okay.
She was kind of going back and forth.
Sure. So we would hold that one for the next license committee meeting, which would be the 20th.
Okay. I know they have had wine tastings at the library. But I'm sorry.
There's,
Hold on. So all of these so far?
That is all that I have.
Is there a second?
Second.
A first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. That was it for licensing,
That's
correct?
it for licensing.
Good. Going on to I as an item, vouchers and payroll approval. There are 3 points. This will be a roll call vote. Point one, city vouchers with an ending date of August 1st, 2024, the amount of $3,055,202.18. Point two, payroll dated July 26, 2024, in the amount of $496,117.59, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $517,081.03, plus city matching payments. And point three, estimated payroll dated August 9, 2024, in the amount of $466,000, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $265,000, plus city matching payments.
Move to
We have a first. We have a second.
Second.
Mr. Barber. Roll call vote, please.
Question?
Oh, discussion, Mr. Barber.
There's a handout at our desk here this evening. Does that have any significance? In addition to just FYI.
Thank you.
I didn't have a handout.
That was by design.
Neither did I.
So we got a first and a second. It's a roll call, please.
Alderman Peccarelli.
Aye. Get 'em on.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Assam.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye. 6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Who wins?
We have a first and a second. Who's the second? Alderman Craig, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:06 PM, 8:06 PM. Huh,
Who won?
me.